Hey everyone, this is another video covering an Autodesk certified user certification exam for Fusion 360, and we're going to be taking a look at the exam objectives, and specifically in this video we're going to be targeting the advanced modeling section, and we're going to be looking at sweep and loft. So two commands that we're going to consider as part of advanced modeling skills. So I'm going to go ahead and move into Fusion, and we're going to take a look at the sweep command. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and create a new component, and we'll call this paperclip, and we're going to practice with using the sweep command. So here I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch, and on the front plane here I'm going to go ahead and draw a line and another thing here. So I'm just going to kind of draw, not really worry about too much on the dimensions, but I'm going to draw a profile. So I'm going to go ahead and click, and I'm going to draw an arc in. Now, one little tool tip to kind of help you out with this is we can create arcs, which just like on the icon, with our line tool. So I'm going to kind of move out of the way, and I'm going to come back to the point, hold down my left mouse button, and then I'm going to draw an arc that's going to be kind of tangent, and it's automatically going to apply a tangent constraint. So I'm going to go ahead and go down. In the same kind of scenario, I can go ahead and draw another arc in here. And I'm just going to pick up the point here just to kind of track it. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring it in just a little bit. And just something like this. Okay, so again, just kind of on a fly, just to show you the profile that we have. I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. Ideally, we would want to add more constraints and things like that, so that way all the lines would turn black and be fully constrained. But with a sweep, if I try to use the sweep command, if I go under the create panel and go to sweep, or for me, I have it already marked here in the, I've got my toolbar customized to have it. Sweep requires a profile and it requires a path. So this actually requires two sketches. So here I end up having one, this is the path, but I need a profile in order to make this work. So I'm going to go ahead and create another sketch, and since I based it off the first one being constrained to the origin, I can always go through and do that. There's some other construction plane methods that you can use to make sure that you're going to be connected to your path that you have. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the top plane here, and I'm going to create a circle, and I'm going to create kind of a small diameter here, circle, and I'm just going to go ahead and finish the sketch. So now what you see is you've got a small circle that is intersecting. The center of the circle is coincident with the center of the origin, and the other thing is as well is our path also is coincident with the origin as well. So now when I run my sweep command, the first thing I'm looking for is a profile. So I'm going to go ahead and select my circle. That's the profile. And then I want to go through, and then I'm going to hit select, and I'm going to choose the path. So, and then what that's going to do is it's going to take that circle, and it kind of is almost like an extrusion. It's going to take the extrusion, but it's going to follow this path that it goes until it hits the very end. So I can go ahead and say OK, and that is utilizing the sweep command, the main kinds of things. So as far as for the ACU exam, I'll go ahead and show you in this editing feature. A lot of this is just dealing with a single path extrusion, or sweep, I should say. And as you go along, profile, path, knowing that if you need to go through and mess with some of these other settings, it'll tell you whether or not you need to go ahead and set this taper angle at maybe a 10 degrees. You're going to see that's going to go through and kind of sometimes, you know, that may be a little too much. Body is going to intersect itself. So I'm going to go ahead and do 0. And then maybe like a twist angle. And we can go through and kind of see that that's probably gonna lock this up too. So 10 degrees, but again, I've got a very small profile here. But that's kind of the basics. You can go through and make a twist, or you can also have the orientation be, if it's parallel, it doesn't really work. We need it to be perpendicular, and a lot of times we're going to be creating a new body out of this. Or depending upon if you have multiple geometries, you could be joining it to an existing body, you could be cutting it or intersecting. So in this case, we would be creating a new body. But that's where you can go through and change those different operations. So that is kind of covering what our sweep command looks like, the basics. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new design file. The other one we're going to look for is a loft. And much like sweep, loft requires that we go through and we have multiple kind of work planes, as well as could be work planes, but also multiple sketches. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to go here to construct, and I'm going to use some offset planes. So I'm going to offset a work plane probably about, I don't know, about 4 inches or so. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the origin planes just because I'm going to use those. And I'm going to also go ahead and offset a plane here as well. And then that way I can go ahead and use it. So, and actually this plane that I had, I can always come down here to the model history tree. Let me edit that feature. And I'm actually going to have it come out to the front. So what I'm going to do with this particular case, I'm going to hide the origin planes, is I'm going to create a few sketches here. So I'm going to go ahead and create one on this top plane that I created, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to create a circle. Again, I'm not going to worry about dimensions too much. I'm just going to go ahead and just create the shapes. I'm going to create another sketch, and I'm going to utilize this work plane here to go through and make that happen. So, and in this case, I'm going to go ahead and grab just a center rectangle. And we'll make this a little bit bigger. So the benefit of utilizing Loft is that I can go ahead and choose the Loft command, and it's going to ask me for what are the profiles that I want to select. So if I select the circle, and then if I select the rectangle, it is going to go through and provide that it's going to connect those two shapes, and you can kind of see where the 4 corners of our rectangle are going to meet and become merged with our circular face of the circle that we drew on the first sketch. So that is kind of some of the things here. You can either do certain directions. So like here you can see my direction, that as I changed profile 1, I want it to go through and curve up. If I change the direction here, you can see it kind of goes through and adds a little bit of curvature. So that is something that, like for example, if we were making the handle on a part for maybe a vacuum cleaner, an attachment, this would be something that would be very beneficial. So you can also add some things like rails, or you can add a center line. If you have a line that's being drawn in that you want to maintain a certain curvature, that would be fine. We'll just use the outside rails of the shapes. And then, you know, there are some other options like take off angle, take off weight that can be played with. Again, if we go through and look at the takeoff angle, we do 10 degrees. That's kind of like an offset. You see how that kind of shaped, how that kind of changed. So if I bump this up to 20, you'll be able to see how that just kind of edits and modifies the shape a little bit more. So you can kind of see the kind of angle that we're getting. And this starts to look a little bit closer to what kind of, like maybe again, like a vacuum cleaner attachment or something along the lines of that particular shape. So in terms of that, tangent edges can be merged, or you can keep those for this shape. Doesn't look like it necessarily matches, but we'll go ahead and merge those together. What that is when we hit OK, we'll be able to see that, you know, we're going to kind of merge those together. But that is the Loft command. And so some of those things to create some more irregular kind of shapes that we see out with a lot of products in the world, this allows us to do so. But again, we did this utilizing 2 sketches, and then Loft allows you to combine those and be able to create multiple shapes and combine them together. So. All right, so this completes the video for utilizing Sweep and Loft for the Autodesk Certified User Exam. If you have questions, feel free to email me. Otherwise, continue to prepare for the exam and look for more videos on spotlighted exam objectives, and hopefully you'll be successful in your first attempt at the ACU exam.